Welcome to Leading Beyond Limits, the podcast where we explore the extraordinary journeys and insights of remarkable leaders who have pushed the boundaries of what's possible. Your host, Angel Radcliffe, who is a digital transformation leader, author, speaker, and financial educator, will lead each episode and dive deep into the stories, strategies, and philosophies that have empowered these exceptional individuals to lead, inspire, and achieve beyond the ordinary. We're about to embark on a journey of discovery and inspiration, and together, we'll learn what it takes to lead beyond limits. So grab your cape, or at least your favorite coffee mug, because we're about to unravel the extraordinary tales of trailblazers who've turned impossible into I'm possible. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been away from the mic for a little bit, recharging the batteries, but we are jumping right back in today. And I have to say, it is genuinely good to be back in the studio. There's a specific kind of clarity you get when you sit down to unpack these topics that I've actually really missed.
I agree. It's good to be back, and frankly, the break connects pretty well to what we're discussing today. We are zooming in on a single, very specific leadership micro scenario.
Right. And for you listening, when we say micro scenario, we're talking about a condensed piece of text, almost like a manifesto on a single slide that deals with the psychology of leadership. And honestly, this one hits a little too close to home.
It's a mirror. Very uncomfortable mirror.
It is. I read the headline text, and my immediate reaction wasn't aha. It was more like, ouch. Can I just read the provocation right off the top?
Let's get it out there.
Okay. The scenario text says, verbatim, being always available is a lack of strategy.
Being always available is a lack of strategy.
I have to push back on this right away, though, because on the surface, it feels counterintuitive to everything we're taught about modern leadership. Isn't the whole point of being a servant leader or just a decent human being that you're there for your team? It feels almost negligent to say availability is a bad thing. If there's a crisis, I need to be available. If my team is stuck, I need to be available.
And that is exactly the tension we need to sit with today. You're right. The prevailing culture tells us that presence equals commitment. If I'm online at 9 p.m., it proves I care. If I answer that Slack message in 30 seconds, it proves I'm on top of things. But the scenario is arguing that we have confused commitment with design failure.
Design failure. That's a very mechanical way to describe a human interaction.
But it is mechanical. Think about a machine. If the operator has to constantly manually adjust the gears to keep it running, that's a badly designed machine. The scenario argues that if you are always available, it's not a sign of your heroic dedication. It's a sign that you haven't built a strategy that works without you.
Okay, so we're moving from the idea of the leader as the hero to the leader as
correct?
The glitch.
The leader as the patch. You're just patching holes in real time. Let's look at the first supporting line in the scenario. It creates this really interesting dichotomy. It says, reliability is a virtue.
Which we agree with. We all want to be reliable.
Oh, absolutely. Reliability creates psychological safety, but then it immediately pivots. Reliability is a virtue. Exhaustion is a leak.
Exhaustion is a leak. Now, usually when I tell my friends I'm exhausted, I wear it like a badge of honor. It means I'm working hard. But a leak implies waste. It implies something valuable is draining away.
Precisely. And we have to ask, what is actually leaking? It's not just your physical energy. You can recover physical energy with a nap. What is leaking here is your strategic capacity.
Can you unpack strategic capacity? Because that sounds a bit like a buzzword, but I have a feeling you mean something very specific.
Think about the cognitive difference between processing and positioning.
Mm-hmm.
When you are available, answering emails, checking DMs, hopping on quick calls, you are processing. You're dealing with data that already exists, inputs that are coming at you right now.
Reactive work.
High-frequency reactive work. Strategy, on the other hand, is positioning. It is looking at data that doesn't exist yet. It's predicting the market or anticipating a cultural shift in your org or designing a workflow for next year. Here's the biological reality. You physically cannot do both with the same part of your brain at the same time.
So it's a bandwidth issue.
It's a signal-to-noise issue. If you are constantly on, your brain is flooded with noise, the noise of the present. You are leaking the capacity to see the signal of the future. You are reliable, yes. You are helpful, absolutely. But you have rendered yourself strategically blind because you never look up from the screen.
That's terrifying. It's like being a pilot who is so busy serving drinks to the passengers that nobody is flying the plane.
And yet we feel good doing it. That's the trap.
Well, let's talk about that feeling,
Wow.
because I think that's where the real resistance is. I can intellectually agree with you that strategy requires focus, but emotionally, when I step away, I feel guilty. I feel like I'm letting people down. Or worse, I feel unsafe.
Unsafe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a certain safety in the noise, isn't there? If I'm answering emails, I know I'm working. I can prove my value. If I step back to strategize and I'm just staring at a wall, that feels risky. What if I come up with nothing?
That is a profound insight. There is an illusion of safety and availability. It's tangible. I solved 10 problems today. You can count them. Strategy is intangible. It's ambiguous. And the scenario suggests that many leaders hide in availability because they are uncomfortable with that ambiguity.
Or hiding in the inbox.
We are using busy as a shield against the anxiety of effective. The scenario text addresses this head-on. It says, protecting your time isn't selfish. It's a tactical requirement for high-quality decision-making.
Tactical requirement. I really like that framing, because usually when we talk about boundaries, it's all very soft. It's self-care. It's you can't pour from an empty cup. It sounds nice. But this is framing it as hard-nosed business logic.
It strips away the morality of it. It's not about whether you are a good or nice person. It's about the physics of judgment. High-quality decisions require latency. They require a pause. If you're operating with zero latency instant response, always on, you are degrading the quality of your judgment. You're making fast decisions, not good decisions.
So the guilt I feel when I close my laptop, that guilt is actually a strategic liability.
It's noise. If your objective is to lead effectively, that guilt is irrelevant. The scenario goes on to say, a leader with no boundaries is a leader with no clarity.
Let's dig into clarity, because I think leaders often fool themselves here. I'll think, I have total clarity because I'm in every meeting. I know everything that's happening.
You have information, you don't have clarity. Those are two different things.
Okay.
Information is the raw data points. Clarity is understanding the pattern. You cannot see the pattern if you are standing 2 inches away from the canvas. You have to step back.
But stepping back implies disconnecting. And that brings us to the fear of missing out. If I step back to get clarity, things are going to happen without me.
And that is the point.
But that's hard.
It's incredibly hard. It requires you to trust that the building won't collapse just because you aren't holding up the ceiling. But let's flip the perspective. We've talked about the leader's brain. Let's talk about the team. Because the scenario poses a question here that is honestly a bit brutal.
I know the one you mean. It asks, be honest. Is your always available status helping your team, or is it creating a bottleneck?
This is the pivot where we stop looking at the leader as a victim of burnout and start looking at the leader as a potential obstruction.
The bottleneck.
Yeah.
We all know the term, but usually we think of bottlenecks as process failures. Like, oh, legal is a bottleneck because they're understaffed.
Yeah.
This is calling me the bottleneck because I'm too helpful.
It's the helpfulness paradox. You think you are unblocking the team by answering their question immediately, but by answering immediately, you are training them not to answer it themselves.
It's dependency.
It's worse than dependency. It's de-skilling.
De-skilling.
Think about it. If you are the external hard drive for your team's brain, if you hold all the context, all the history, all the final judgment, their internal processing power atrophies, why should they struggle through a complex problem if they can just ping you and get the answer? You aren't just slowing them down by making them wait for your reply. You are effectively making them less capable.
That is heavy. So by validating my own ego, by getting that hit of I solved it, I'm actively stunting their growth.
You are trading their long-term development for your short-term validation. And that brings us back to the core accusation of the scenario, lack of strategy. If the team cannot function without you, it means you haven't built a strategy. You've just built a hub and spoke model where you are the hub.
And if the hub breaks?
The wheel stops. Strategy is meant to be a framework for decision-making that exists outside of your brain. If the strategy is clear, a team member should be able to look at a situation, apply the strategy, and make a decision without you. If they can't, the strategy is either missing or it's in your head, which is the same as missing.
Availability substitutes reaction for strategy. That line from our notes really sticks out now. It's so much easier to just react than to build a system that makes me unnecessary.
It's easier, and it feeds the ego, building a strategy that makes you redundant. That requires a level of self-assurance that is, it's rare. It requires you to architect yourself out of the loop.
Architect. That's the word the scenario uses next. The architecture of strategic availability.
I'm going to pause on that word. Architecture implies design. It implies intention. It's not just, I'm taking a day off.
Right. It's not about checking out. It's about designing how you engage. Architecture is about constraints. A building stands up because of where the walls are and where the walls aren't. You need to design the voids.
The voids.
You have to consciously design the spaces where you are not.
Yeah.
I am not available for this type of decision. I am not available during these hours. I am not available via this channel. Those constraints force the team to fill the void. They force the team to step up.
But this requires judgment, doesn't it? Because I can hear the listener saying, okay, but if I just disappear, my team will flail. And they might be right. You can't just abandon a team that's used to you holding their hand. No, and that would be irresponsible. That's not architecture, that's demolition. The scenario emphasizes that leadership is about judgment. A leader with good judgment knows when to step in and when to step back. They know the difference between a crisis that threatens the business and a struggle that leads to growth.
It's the difference between the building is on fire and this math problem is hard.
Exactly. And the problem with being always available is that you treat the math problem like a fire. You rush in with the extinguisher every time. Moving forward responsibly means accepting that stepping back is an act of trust. And not just trust in the team, though that's huge, but trusting your own judgment to set the parameters.
It's trusting that you've built the scaffolding strong enough.
Yes, and trusting that you can handle the discomfort of the silence.
Silence. That's the scary part.
It is. When you stop reacting, things get quiet. You aren't getting those 50 emails an hour validating your existence. You have to sit with the strategy. You have to sit with the uncertainty.
The scenario has a footer text that I think captures this ambition perfectly. It says, leading beyond limits.
Leading beyond limits.
Now, in a typical hustle culture podcast, that would mean push past your limits, sleep less, do more.
Right. Break through the wall.
But in this context, I think it means something entirely different.
I think it means leading beyond the limits of your physical presence.
Oh, that is good.
If your leadership is tied to your physical or digital presence, if you only lead when you are typing, then your leadership is biologically limited. You can only work 14 hours a day. You can only be in one Zoom room. You are capped.
You don't scale.
You don't scale. But if you build a strategy, if you build clarity, if you architect a culture that leads when you aren't there, that leads while you're sleeping, that leads while you're thinking, you are lighting beyond the limits of your own bandwidth.
You're omnipresent without being present. That's the goal.
That is the definition of high leverage leadership.
So, as we start to land this plane, I'm thinking about the listener who is nodding along, but maybe their stomach is in knots, because this requires a massive shift in identity. It requires going from the fixer to the architect.
It does. And I want to be really clear about something. We are not offering a 5-step hack to clear your inbox. This isn't about time management tactics. You can turn off your notifications, but if you haven't dealt with the internal anxiety of not knowing, you'll just turn them back on in an hour.
Or you'll just sit there staring at the phone, wondering if it's buzzing.
Exactly. The work here isn't technological, it's psychological, it's internal. It's about confronting why you need to be available. Is it really for the team, or is it for you?
That's the question to sit with. Be honest. Is your always available status helping your team, or is it creating a bottleneck?
It requires brutal honesty, and it requires the courage to pause. We are so afraid of the pause. We think the pause is empty, but the scenario is teaching us that the pause is where the strategy lives.
It's deep work, and frankly, it's uncomfortable work.
It is. But if you want to stop the leak, if you want to stop leaking strategic capacity, you have to build the dam. You have to endure the pressure of not reacting.
Well, this has been a lot more intense than I expected from a micro scenario. I feel like I need to go take a walk and leave my phone behind.
That would be a good start.
Before we sign off, is there a specific thought or a question you want to leave the listener with? We've covered a lot, but if they take one thing into their next meeting or their next quiet moment, what should it be?
I wouldn't give them a conclusion. I would give them a test. I want you to imagine that tomorrow you become radically less available. You set the boundary. You close the door.
Okay. I'm imagining it.
Now ask yourself, in that silence, would your strategy become clearer? Or would the silence terrify you?
Would the silence terrify you?
Because if the answer is that the silence would terrify you, then you know it's not a team problem. It's not a workload problem. It's a fear problem. And that is where the work begins.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to be sitting with that one for a while. Thank you for that. And thank you, listener, for coming back to the deep dive with us. It's great to be back, even if we did just hand you a fairly heavy mirror to look into.
It's the only way to see what's really going on.
Take care of yourselves. Yeah. And maybe, just maybe, take a moment to be unavailable. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning into another inspiring episode of Leading Beyond Limits. If you enjoyed today's conversation and want to hear more from our incredible guests, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us. And if you have a remarkable leader in mind who you'd like to hear on our show or any questions and comments, feel free to reach out to us. You can find our contact information in the show notes. Remember, leadership knows no bounds, and with the right insights and determination, you too can lead beyond limits. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars and leading with purpose.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip: when it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.